Welcome to the second lesson of logical decision making, where we'll take a further look into how customers perceive value, how our social groups affect our shopping behavior, and what exactly is rational thinking. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to decipher what is rational thinking and how to best use that logic when designing your Shopify store. You might already know that nothing has inherent value, but you can establish value through many different criteria, and they need to be taken into account when designing an e-commerce website. Now, we know that supply and demand determine price. This means that the perceived value of something is influenced by the perceived demand and available supply. If people consider something to be rare or much in demand, they will often pay more for it. An excellent example of this is Shopify's ability to display inventory levels. When a site shows that stock is running low, it gives the impression of demand, so it increases the perceived value. This is additionally highlighted by showing other buyers' activity on the sites through Shopify's browser notifications. Consumers are way savvier than we think, and they can get suspicious of presumed stock levels. Showing misleading figures can leave them feeling manipulated, and it ultimately results in buyer's remorse and negative perceptions. Here's a pro tip. You can create a sense of urgency without crossing moral boundaries with your audience. Some things can be viewed as more valuable if we have a connection to it or are invested in its creation. For example, a parent may favor a low quality mug made by their child over a professionally manufactured mug that was considerably more expensive to produce. Another excellent online example will be a well run crowdfunded campaign. By being able to support a product from conception to delivery, users feel invested in its creation. This is especially true when manufacturers engage with people throughout the process by asking for their ideas and their contributions. Lastly, there is also the fact that we establish the worth of something by comparing it to something else. Do the price and benefits of a product compare favorably to other similar products? You may wonder at this point, do the opinions of others have a significant impact on our willingness to buy? Well, they do, and here's why. Humans are inherently social animals, and this influences how we buy online in much the same way it influences all of our other behaviors. All things being equal, we tend to make the same choice as others have made. There is safety in numbers. Sometimes we can be influenced to choose the majority view even if we are unsure of the choice ourselves. That is the power of social influence. We are even more heavily influenced by the choices of those we respect. The choices of friends, family, experts, or even celebrities will all sway our decision making for better or for worse. E-commerce brands have been increasingly investing marketing efforts in reaching social media influencers, whether they are bloggers, YouTubers, or Instagrammers. These people are part expert and part celebrity and are highly influential in the online purchasing habits of consumers. Another significant aspect of our social tendencies is our desire to associate with a tribe. We feel the need to belong to a social group and tend to perceive those from other social groups negatively. In today's society, the products we buy are often a signal of which social group we aspire to embrace. We use them to shape our identity and let our shopping behaviors express who we are. You might have heard of the best-selling book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, where he argues that we struggle to think things through in an entirely rational way. In the book, he introduces a fictional character called Steve and asks the following questions. Steve is shy and withdrawn, invariably helpful but with little interest in people or in the world of reality. A neat and tidy soul, he has a need for order and structure and a passion for detail. Is Steve more likely to be a librarian or a farmer? Most people answer a librarian. However, in truth, he is more likely to be a farmer simply because there are 20 times more farmers than there are librarians on Earth. Most of us will not even consider that fact when coming to a conclusion. Instead, we instinctively decide that he would be a librarian based on the archetype of the job. This happens because it is easier to call to mind a mental picture of a librarian than it is to work out the statistical probability. It is the same reason why we will instantly be able to answer the question, what is the capital of France, but would need to put considerable thought into answering, what is 14 times 21? There should be a particular effort put forth to understand your consumers' mental models and not deviate from their expectations. For example, when asked where one would expect to find the shopping cart on an e-commerce site, most people would instinctively say the top right of the page. When the shopping cart is not in that position, we are forced to think. This is what is known as cognitive load. In cognitive psychology, cognitive load refers to the used amount of working memory resources. Cognitive load theory is separated into three types: intrinsic, extraneous, and germane. Intrinsic cognitive load is the effort associated with a specific topic. Extraneous cognitive load refers to the way information or tasks are presented to a learner. Germane cognitive load refers to the work put into creating a permanent store of knowledge or a schema. In fact, it is often cited as one of the main reasons users don't complete online tasks. In the context of e-commerce, cognitive overload can lead to cart abandonment, and cart abandonment is something you want to avoid. Next up in your chapters, we will be learning how to design for the cognitive load of your consumers so as to not overwhelm them. But first, let's take a quick quiz. See you there.